for the next half hour, I want to pull your brains out of your head, twist them up, and stuff them back in. So, stay with me here. You see, most speakers will stand here and tell you, don't do this, do that. Don't do that, do this. That's bull. Because when you leave here, statistically, you're not going to change a thing if I do that. I don't want to change what you do today. I want to change the way you think. And if I can change the way you think, I can't help but change what you do, can I? Think about it. I go to a business. I say, why are you failing? You never say because of me. Oh, it's the competition. It's the economy. It's the president. It's Congress. A few weeks ago, somebody told me it's Greece in California. The euro is taking them down. So, if you wake up tomorrow morning and blame your failure on someone or something else, you have no reason to change, do you? It's that his fault. Son of a gun! I did everything I could. But if you woke up in the morning and looked in the mirror and said, I am failing because of me, the decisions that I make, the energy I put in, I'm not passing the blame. If you look in the mirror tomorrow and say that, you will change. Because nobody likes thinking of themselves as a failure. Certainly not an entrepreneur. Does that make sense? Everybody will talk to you about success. The practices of success, principles of success, blocks of success, platforms of success, steps of success. Every freaking word they can think of, they will put before of success. But I've learned more about failure than anyone. You see, other people get paid to go to promising businesses. I get paid to go into worst businesses you can imagine, with the worst decision makers you've ever seen, who are drinking, trying to screw everything that walks in the room. I mean, it is incredible. So, what have I learned from being exposed to what I believe is more failure than any management consultant ever has been? What is it about failure? What is the common denominator of failure? How does failure happen? I've learned that through Bar Rescue. And I don't believe anyone else has ever experienced failure to that depth and look it in the eye week after week like me. I've learned the walk of failure, the talk of failure, the words of failure, the facial expressions of failure, and I finally landed on the common denominator of failure. The one thing that resides within every failure that could ever exist. And it took me about 130 episodes to figure it out. 650,000 small businesses will open next year. About 10 years ago, around 2010, 60% of those businesses were family owned. Today it's only 42% because people made excuses. They blamed Obamacare. They blamed the economy. They blamed whatever the hell they could come up with. But how many people during those years started businesses and became millionaires? Every one of those excuses was bull, wasn't it? Think about it. Every single one. At the end of the day, winners win and entrepreneurs make money. When we accept failure, we find success. When we don't own failure, we'll never find success. If you own your failure, you'll own your success. So what is personal growth? You know, I think about entrepreneurship. Some of us are in this to do social good and make money. Some of us are into this for political causes and make money. Some of us are just here to make money. But we all have different motivations. So we all define growth differently. Sometimes it's social to me, it could be personal, could be financial, could be a bigger house, a bigger car. Whatever it is, we all define it differently. But what is common about growth? If you do tomorrow what you did today, you will get tomorrow what you got today. Benjamin Franklin. That is the definition of not growing, isn't it? If you do it the same tomorrow, there's no growth. If you attain the same result tomorrow, there's no growth. So how do we get better? every day, every hour. How do we find those resources? How do we find the energy, the knowledge to do that? Let me show you how I became a millionaire. Imagine this. Imagine if I have 1,000 transactions in my business, digital, in person, whatever, and they spend $25 each. So I have $25,000 weekly revenue. Remember I talked to you before about 20% in 6 months? What if I said to you, no months. I want you to increase your transactions by only 2% a week for 10 weeks. Just 2% a week. So, if I have 1,000 people coming through each week, how many is 2%? Only 20 more transactions. All I need is 20 more transactions a week. Now I'm getting my arms around something as compared to 20% in 6 months. I need 20 more transactions a week. Okay, so if I can then take sales per guest at $25 and increase that by $250 or 10% with add-ons, size, value, packaging, pairing, everything I can come up with in 10 weeks, in 10 weeks, I have 1,200 transactions spending $30 each. You guys with me? In 10 weeks, how much did my revenue go up? 44%. That's how I got rich. I manage it separately. I focus on transactions as a separate thing, and then I focus on spend as a separate thing. And 2% a week, 20 people a week, you can get your arms around that, can't you? 20% in 6 months doesn't mean shit, right? Increasing transactions by only 2% a week equals a 20% increase in just transactions in 10 weeks. Achieving sales management goals then become critical, don't they? So stop putting all your energy into the dimes and start putting them into the dollars. You guys with me? And focus on revenue management. Look at experience. Did they stay a shorter period of time? Return visits down? Staffing too low to serve them? Are people untrained? Are they inefficient? Not your opinion, your customer's opinion. It's their reaction that matters, not yours. What you think of anything is completely irrelevant. Service transactions slow, poor upselling, not connecting, missed sales opportunities, cross-selling results weak, loyalty programs ineffective, internal promotion, are they effective? These are just simple examples of revenue management and the things we need to pay attention to. Think about this. Your labor cost problems, done. Marketing expense, finished. Promotion cost problems, over. Product and service expense problems, done. Morale issues with your employees, long gone. Profits up, customer experience up because we're vibrant and staffed and energetic. And our company valuation goes through the roof. And now I'm making money. Everything we do is a process, never a result. That process must establish an emotional reaction. That reaction is our product. So, let me be a restaurant guy for a minute. The cook in the kitchen is making an entree, right? He thinks that's the product. So the entree comes out to the table, goes on a table, one of two things happens. Either you sit up and look at it and react to it, or nothing happens. If nothing happens, that business is stuck in mediocrity forever. So, is the product a plate of food or the reaction that the guest had to the plate of food? Which is the product? The reaction is the product, isn't it? You see, I'll redesign that plate 30 times until you sit up. Because I understand that the product is the way you react to things. We can all buy cell phones from any company. It's the way we react to the product that matters. It's presentation, it's emotion, it's perceived value, far more than absolute value. The fact of the matter is, everything we do must create reactions. Those reactions drive frequency, drive spend, and fuel the economy of our country. And he or she who creates the best reaction wins. That's the business world. And that's what we have to get good at, is we have to understand how to cause people to react to what we do. And it's not the product. Don't let your brain stop there. It's the way the consumer or the individual reacts to it. And when you own the reaction, you own your future. That's business. And anybody who tells you we're in a product or services business is just dead wrong. Great products fail all the time, don't they? But products you love don't. Coke. Go open Coke, you have a bad can. Oh, awful. What do? Go buy another can of Coke. But what really drives success? Reaction management. Reaction management is a term that I own and a science that I've worked on for 30 years. And it's the management of the reactions of the people around you. Now, if I can make my boss notice me in ways, I get promoted quicker, don't I? If I get the bankers to react to me right, I get that loan, don't I? I get that equity partner, don't I? If the business plan is mediocre, but I'm a superstar, he's in, isn't he? So the fact of the matter is, we live and die and succeed by creating maximum customer, transaction, and employee reactions. It doesn't end with the transaction, it ends with the reaction. You with me? So you don't turn your back after the transaction. You stay with it until I know how you feel. And that's what I have to manage. And all the product is, or the service is a vehicle to achieve that reaction. And that is business, isn't it? Think about it. And that's what the textbooks don't teach us. But that's human behavior. Who's been to Disney World? Or a great theme park? Think about this. You go to one of the theme parks in Orlando, Florida, I won't say which name, 120 degrees. You pay $130 to get in or whatever. You stand on line 2 hours for your first attraction, right? Now you wait, you stand on line for your next one for 2 hours. You want a Coke, $14.95. It's got ears on it though. And now you gotta wait on line 45 minutes for that. Think about this. A woman goes to a theme park with the ugliest child on the planet. I'm talking one ugly kid. And she's walking with this kid, and he's got a hat on because it's a pretty ugly kid. And the woman says to the VIP hostess on Main Street, "What time does the parade start?" And the hostess answers the question, and then she bends down, she picks up the kid's hat, and she looks at mom, and she says, "She's adorable," knowing that she's looking at the ugliest child she's ever seen. Grandma, or mom, firms up, smiles, says, "Thank you." There's only two places in the world where that kid's adorable. That theme park and grandma's house. Where's mom going next time? You see, it wasn't about the directions. It was about the reaction. It was never about the directions. That's not going to get a customer back, is it? It's the reaction that gets them back. And he or she who masters human reactions masters success. Disney is a great example of that. So what drives frequency and loyalty? You know, if you look at the college textbooks, it says convenience, price value, quality, service, cleanliness. You know, I'll be a restaurant guy for a moment. Okay, so it's convenient, good price value, quality. Think of a really hot restaurant here in LA. Convenience, people stand in line an hour and a half to get in. Price value, prices are 30% higher than the competition. Quality, the portion size is half the other guy who's 30% less. But it's got a beautiful swirl of something on a plate. Service, the place is packed. You're sandwiched in a bar like this. By the time you get your scotch and soda, the ice is round. It isn't even square anymore. Then you go into the bathrooms, no paper towels. And you know these restaurants because everybody walks out of the bathroom like this, right? So think about it. You stood in line, paid higher prices, had an inferior product, waited to be served, and next time you're bringing your own paper towel, but they're back in line next week. Why? Why? Reactions. They feel relevant. They feel vibrant. They feed their self-worth. They feel important. They are gaining something far more from food. So in that moment, none of that matters because reactions takes over. We are not logical. We are primal. and we react to things sometimes in a very primal sense. We run to what feels good, and we run from what feels bingo. So, that has nothing to do with price value, does it? It has really nothing to do with anything on that sheet. If I'm really good, I'll get them to wait an hour and a half, pay higher prices, have a smaller portion, wait to be served, and bring their own paper towel, and I'll make a frickin' fortune. Somebody comes up to my hotel one day and says to me, John, I got this promotion. It was really good. So I did the promotion, and my sales went up 30%. For the first time in my career, I didn't have a labor cost problem. My marketing numbers worked. You see, we don't have expense problems. We only have revenue problems. So I learned that at a young age. Revenue cures everything. When I got revenue, I can hire the best accountants in the world to shave my profits out. Revenue solves it. The only business that's really in trouble is the one without revenue. So, if we don't have expense problems, we only have revenue problems, then we have to learn to become revenue managers far more than we are expense managers. Make sense? And most of our time in business is put into managing expenses over managing revenue. But yet, it's backwards, completely. So, revenue solves everything. If that's the case, then our front line is our bottom line, isn't it? Because that's where the reactions are created. That's where the frequency is created. So, I want to talk about revenue management for a few minutes. I want to talk about true revenue management for a few minutes. Imagine this. You see, most people manage their business by revenues alone, but you can't. You have to manage your business by the amount of transactions you do and the spend of each transaction. Because you have to manage the amount of transactions in a very different way that you manage how much people spend during each transaction. Make sense? It all comes down to managing the reaction so we can manage revenue. 44% in 10 weeks. I do it all the time, guys. Years ago when I owned my marketing company, we didn't get paid unless we increased revenue by 18% in 90 days. Then we got paid dearly. It was the way we did that. And we're the only marketing company in the world that wouldn't get paid if we didn't achieve results. And this is how we did it. We focused on those two things, 10 more bodies a week, 10 more click-throughs a week, 20 more a week, day by day. Just call your mother, call your aunts, call your uncles. I want my 20. That's the way it works, guys. Week to week. You don't get 20 this week, you get 18, you owe me 2 next week. We commit to it. We live it. We get the 20. You think of your promotional partners, your neighbors, the kind of relationships that you can have, how you can expand your universe. You work it because you're focused on what? Your 20. And you don't stop till you find it. That is an entrepreneur. The one who sleeps with revenues every night and wakes up with them every morning. Who understands that expenses are easy to manage. I can spend 25% of my revenue on labor. I do 10 grand, I can spend $2,500 at $25 an hour, that's X amount of hours. It's not hard. That is hard. Revenue management is the challenge. And this is how we did it. We focused on those two things, 10 more bodies a week, 10 more click-throughs a week, 20 more a week, day by day. Just call your mother, call your aunts, call your uncles. I want my 20. That's the way it works, guys. Week to week. You don't get 20 this week, you get 18, you owe me 2 next week. We commit to it. We live it. We get the 20. You think of your promotional partners, your neighbors, the kind of relationships that you can have, how you can expand your universe. You work it because you're focused on what? Your 20. And you don't stop till you find it. That is an entrepreneur. The one who sleeps with revenues every night and wakes up with them every morning. Who understands that expenses are easy to manage. I can spend 25% of my revenue on labor. I do 10 grand, I can spend $2,500 at $25 an hour, that's X amount of hours. It's not hard. That is hard. Revenue management is the challenge. So, what is marketing? I love this one. Well, another college textbook one. College textbooks say marketing by definition is finding a need and filling it. What a crock that is, huh? What the hell does that mean? I'm guessing that person has never been in business before and functioned by endowment maybe, but that makes no sense to me. Marketing is only three things: new customer programs, frequency programs, and spend programs. That is it. That's all we got. So, if you understand that, and if you get those 20 new customers, and you can turn them into frequent customers, we're now growing our business. So, if we're focused on revenue management, then we're focused on those three things. I have to have new customer programs going, I gotta have frequency programs going, and I gotta have spend programs going. So, revenue and the energy of success certainly attracts the best people. We know that. People want to go to energetic and successful environments. But let me ask you a question. Can we spec human reactions? Is it something that can be specified? Yes. 70% of all people that walk into a mall make a right-hand turn. Period. End of discussion. If I got the first store on the right, I'm far better off than the guy with the first store on the left. I know it. Landlords know it. That's why the store on the right has a higher rent than the store on the left. Yes, we can spec human behavior. So, remember the mom with the ugly kid? When you look at her and say she's adorable, what's going to happen? She's not going to look at you and say, screw you. She's going to smile every single time. So, we can spec human reactions. I love this one. Every industry uses the word training. Oh, we got to train them really well. It's all about training. What's the difference between teaching and training? You see, training is behavior modification. You ever meet someone who never looks in your eyes? They stare at your forehead, your shoes. They'll never look in your eyes. You can't change that. How about that guy who walks around like this? Joseph. Every day you walk up to Joseph. Joe, how are you today? Hanging in there. Next day. How are you, Joe? Fair to middling. How are you today, Joe? 1 hour to go. 365 freaking days a year. This guy is never even good. Can I change that? Can I change that? If a person doesn't have a sense of humor, can you change that? You see, that training is by definition behavior modification. Behavior modification takes years. That's why we have prisons. Or I'd say don't do that and I'd send you back in the frickin' streets. So, we don't train anyone, ever. All we do is teach people how to work in our businesses. You get it? Their personality is what it is. Either they have energy or they don't. Either they're teamwork or they're not. Either they're nice to get along with or they're not. Either they're appealing as an individual to your customers or they're not. We can't change that. Oh no, believe me, give me a week with him. He'll be a high energy guy. So I love job interviews. So, you're good under pressure? Oh yeah, I'm the best under pressure. We're not even busy yet. He's crying in the corner on the first night. So we ask them a question. They know the answer that we want to hear. They tell us what we want to hear, and we hire them. What a crock of bull the interview process has become. So, we don't train, we teach. We have to hire the right people who will fit within our business, which means we have to understand personalities. And the personalities within our business are what connect with our customers. So, to hell with experience, hire for personality. You give me somebody who's never worked in a restaurant ever in their life, and 2 weeks, if they have the right personality profile, I'll show you a great general manager in 2 weeks compared to the guy with the wrong personality with a 20-year resume. The fact of the matter is, their experience means nothing if their personality is wrong. Ask yourself some questions. What talents do the stars have that the others don't? Think about it. Close your eyes, picture your best employees, the best people you've ever worked with. It wasn't that they wore clean shirts, it was their personality, wasn't it? It wasn't that they cleaned up after themselves or they spelled well. No, those aren't the things that stay with. It's their personality, their presence, their energy. Think about what they must do versus what they must have. If they have what they have to have, I can teach them what they need to do. Right? We focus on the do over the how. We have to change that. And think about what talents are needed to be successful, not what a job entails. What personality, what traits will drive success within your world and your business? The way I do that is I created something called Taffer's 8 adjective answer. I create 8 adjectives for every job description in my business, and none of them are allowed to have an experience connection. So, words like teamwork, high energy, smiling, appealing, compassionate. And then when I sit in an interview, I won't look at them and say, so, are you a team player? Because what are you going to say? Oh, I live to be a team player. You see, you got to screw with them a little in the interview. So, you want to say things like, so, talk to me about high school. I want to get to know you a little bit. What'd you like to do in high school? Not much. You join any clubs or team? Nah, I really sort of hung in the library. Okay. Did you have a lot of friends in high school? Or, no, librarian, very close to the librarian, okay? So, what do you like to do with your free time? History Channel, World War II, tanks, really into tanks. So I think to myself, guy's not on any teams, he doesn't have any friends, he sits home all day. No matter what, if he's in the front of the house of my business, he could be sent to me by the Pope. I will not hire him, right? What if he says something different? What'd you do in high school? Oh, I played baseball, I was on a soccer team, blah, blah, blah. What do you do now? Well, I coach my daughter's team player. Bingo. Let me ask you a question. What's your favorite movie? Big difference between Rocky Horror Picture Show and a comedy. Talk to them about things that they don't expect you to. Don't ask them questions that they know the answers to. Learn their personality. Everybody's happy to talk about what they love in high school, what they do in their free time, what they enjoy, their favorite movies, their favorite TV shows. You'll see their energy level, the way they look in your eyes, what they smile about, what they're passionate about. And you'll start to say to yourself, this person fits. And then ask them about their experience. It always starts with the personality. And then, here's the way it works. I will stare at my 8 adjectives. I'll go through each one. Are you detail-oriented? I'm not going to ask that question. So tell me about your past, blah, blah, blah. What do you think about this? And I'm going to put a yes or no next to each of my adjectives. It might take me a half hour talking over Coke to do it. At the end, I must have 6 of the 8 adjectives or I will not hire him no matter what. So, imagine this. I got a busy restaurant. I got to hire this dishwasher. If I don't hire him tonight, I'm washing dishes tomorrow. So I interview a guy. He has 5 yeses, not 6. I suggest to you that is the most defining moment you will ever have as a manager or business owner. Because in that moment, you'll do one of 2 things. You'll do what's convenient for you or what's best for your business. And at that moment, you say, no, I will not hire him. Looks like I'm washing dishes tomorrow until I find the right guy. So the minute you compromise, you're done. You see, standards, and I've tried to define them. Standards are measurements of performance that are qualifiable. This is what I want you to do. Quantifiable. This is when I want you to do it. And verifiable. I'm going to make sure you do. And if it doesn't have all 3, then it's not a standard at all. So, focus on who they are, what they have, and then we can teach them what to do. Use the adjectives in recruiting ads. Use them in your conversations to learn about your candidates. And only select winners. Remember, you lose a player. Think of it as an NFL game. This is my chance to get a better player. Always use it as an opportunity to upgrade the lost player. What's the single thing that drives you? You're going to leave here today. Maybe you're going to change the way you act, or you're not. If you do, you're in a growth mode. If you don't, you're stuck. Let me leave you with this thought. The average American makes 3 to 5% working their ass off. And you meet those people who buck that trend, don't you? They double their money and their income in 3 years, in I gave you the tool to do that. Thank you, everybody.